Hey Management 4480, welcome to your next class. This class we're going to start talking about chapter 9, which is on strategic control and corporate governance. And I have my notes here from the PowerPoint I created for you. So I just wanted us to review it quickly so that you can move on and do all the other stuff on your own time. So when we're talking about strategic control, we are thinking about ways to ensure that we are on track to reaching our goals. So I start off the PowerPoint with an article talking about how firms are off track of their climate goals. And so that was just an example of setting a goal and starting to work towards it, but then in your analysis and your assessment of the situation as you're progressing towards the goal, you realize that you are not on track to meet it. There are 3 common strategic control mechanisms that companies use, and it's informational control systems, behavioral control systems, and corporate governance. So we're going to talk about corporate governance in our next class, and today we'll focus more so on informational and behavioral control systems. So there's a traditional approach and a contemporary approach to strategic control. So you'll notice in the PowerPoint that the traditional approach asserts that what we do is come up with our strategy. So we formulate our strategy as step 1, then we implement our strategy as step 2, and then we engage in strategic control as step 3 to make sure that we're on track towards those strategies and those goals. And then we accomplish whatever goals that we've set, and then it's time to formulate the next set of strategies. So it's very clean, it's very sequential, and the traditional approach assumes that the environment around us is certain. So it assumes that when we set our goals and we start working towards our goals, things won't pop up that we don't expect to derail us or cause issues. Things are going to work out exactly as we predicted. We know that this is probably unrealistic in most cases. So in comes in the contemporary approach, and the contemporary approach has those same 3 parts. So we formulate the strategy, we implement the strategy, and then we engage in strategic control to make sure that we're on track to meeting our goals. But each step within the model is bidirectional. So if we go from formulating the strategy to implementing the strategy, and then before we get to strategic control, we're like, actually, employees are having a tough time implementing the changes that were included in our strategy. This is harder for them than we anticipated, or this is taking them longer to develop the program that we anticipated. So we actually have to take a step backwards and change our strategy. Maybe we need to extend our timeline. Maybe we need to give our employees additional resources so that they can be successful, right? So there's this analysis in between each step that we're seeing, okay, is this going according to plan? Has something unexpected pop up? Is something in the environment? Oh, our peer, our competitor has released a new product. We weren't expecting that. Okay, so that might change our plans because we were going to release a product, and now we need to change what we're doing because it'll be similar to what they've already done. So the contemporary approach assumes that things are going to pop up, unexpected mishaps are going to happen, and so we need to take a step back and alter our plan and alter our behavior so that we can make sure that we're in alignment with the things going on around us. So The contemporary approach is most appropriate for situations where there's uncertainty, and that's most situations. So using informational control to assess where we stand in terms of organizational goal achievement is essentially collecting data internally and externally about our performance. So we might review like financial statements, we might review budgets, we might review customer reviews, customer feedback. It's just about collecting data to see where we stand. So that's why it's called informational control. So we are analyzing the information that we can get internally and externally so that we can see where we stand. Behavioral control are tools that we use to influence the behavior of our employees. Why do we want to influence the behavior of our employees? Because we can get them to behave in ways that are in alignment with our organizational goals. And so typically, in order to assess what employees are doing and encourage them to veer towards the behavior that we want them to take on, we use culture, rewards, and boundaries. And you'll see these 3 elements listed in the essential elements of behavioral control model within your PowerPoint. So obviously, culture is a huge thing for companies. A lot of companies are intentional about establishing a strong culture, an attractive culture that'll bring in great applicants and great workers. And it's basically just the system that they establish within the company that's based on like shared values and beliefs. This is how we work. This is our ideas on work-life balance. This is our ideas on providing a comfortable environment. This is how we treat each other as employees. We work closely together, or we're more so encouraging people to work individually so that they can have their quiet space. Whatever the culture is, you have a lot of companies that are seeing the benefit of being really clear about their culture so that they can attract in the right people. So reward systems is another way we encourage people to engage in certain behaviors. And rewards are really important when we want to encourage people to continue on a certain path. And just to note that a lot of people automatically think of money as rewards, but rewards can show up in a lot of ways. And actually, money isn't the most important reward that people appreciate. People also appreciate culture highly, right? People appreciate having time off. People appreciate being in a workplace that values them. And so we can show people that we value them beyond just giving them money. And really, money as a reward is something that is easily imitated, right? So it's like when you think about rewards and how you want to reward your employees, it really behooves you to come up with creative ways to reward them, because if we're just establishing this sort of relationship that's just based on money, then why wouldn't they just go seek that out somewhere else and just work for the highest bidder, right? Like employees, like we want to establish a relationship where it's like we pay you well, but also we have this environment for you and we're supporting you in these ways, you know, so it's bigger than money. So when we're talking about culture and rewards, these elements of behavioral control are most likely to be used in jobs that require or encourage, I'll say, creativity. Jobs where we are highly valuing our employees' knowledge. Remember, we talked about how we're in the knowledge economy now. Jobs that are highly valuing somebody's knowledge and experience and education and creativity. These jobs are most likely to rely on culture and rewards to influence employee behavior. But the third element that we would use to encourage employee behavior is boundaries. And so that's essentially rules and regulations. So I'm going to control your behavior by just setting a rule on how I expect you to behave. So I expect you to show up at this time. I am giving you a 30-minute lunch break. Just specific rules that employees are expected to follow. Here's exactly what I expect you to do on your workday. Don't deviate from it. And so boundaries are less important at these knowledge economy jobs that want you to be creative and want you to think outside the box. Rules are more constraining, and so you see this more so in jobs where we don't want people to defect from expectation at all. So like maybe working in a factory, right? So it's like, here's exactly what your job description is. If you do anything beyond that, if you try to change up the system, if you try to just do your part on the assembly line different, then you could potentially mess up the whole assembly line. And so we do not want you to defect from what we're telling you to do. And so here we're setting specific rules for you so that you know exactly what to do here, and we can prevent anything bad from happening. So for your next steps, I wanted us to dive a little bit deeper in the behavioral control model, and I have some prompts for you, some questions on each of the three elements of the behavioral control model: culture, rewards, and boundaries. And so I just want you to answer the questions in the forum and just share your thoughts on them. So that's it for today's class. I'll see you next time.